And it's the big board giving us the best look at it. 8-game weekend, Big Ten versus Big Ten. Starts Friday night with Washington and Rutgers. Good one early Saturday here on the network. Unbeaten Indiana hosting Maryland. Little brown jug going on at that time as well. Other games include Ohio State going to East Lansing, Oregon's first Big Ten game against a familiar foe in UCLA, and one battle of ranked teams in State College. Number 19 Illinois visiting 9th-ranked Penn State. And James Franklin urging the Nittany Lion fans to treat this one in the same way they would treat the very biggest games, urging the fan base to bring whiteout energy while not specifically calling for a whiteout. They've already scheduled the whiteout game for Washington November the 9th. Brett Bielema responded by saying they're calling for whiteout energy, whatever the H-E double hockey sticks that means. I'm not sure where the FCC falls on that word. And Ashley, frankly, I got to get the girls through college, and then I'll go full George Carlin on you. But anyway, we get the point there. Bielema maybe saying I'm not sure what James is getting at there. James essentially saying, hey, let's bring all the energy we can bring, irrespective of what everyone's going to be wearing. What do you make of kind of the excitement surrounding this game?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the Penn State fans are going to need to bring some energy because remember the last time that these two teams met in Happy Valley, it was the longest game in the history of college football. So
it just ended, Ashley. It just ended last week.
Saturday night. Yeah, I think it just wrapped up. But yeah, I think I'm excited about this one. I mean, you start with Illinois. There are plenty of teams around the country that we don't know enough about because they might be undefeated, but they still haven't really played anybody. Illinois has been tested, and I understand that the two ranked teams that they beat in Kansas and Nebraska are not ranked currently. But that does not take away from the experience that you gain when you play in those big-time environments against very good teams and you find a way to win. And particularly, I think about that overtime win in Lincoln. It just showed a lot to me, and that win obviously makes this weekend's game against Penn State even bigger. And Dave, my thought on Penn State at this point is that Andy Kotelnicki's offense is just fun to watch. They blew the top off an overmatched Kent State team last week. And beyond the 718 yards of offense, the stat that stood out to me was that 8 different guys scored a touchdown, like 8 different guys in the end zone. And even in a blowout where you have different guys in who don't usually play, that just doesn't happen. So I think that's almost, you could call that like a microcosm of Kotelnicki's approach. He mixes it up really well. He uses different motion and shifts, and the next thing you know, a tight end is throwing a touchdown pass. So it's been fun to see how he keeps the defense on its heels, and I'm looking forward to seeing what it looks like Saturday with the whiteout energy against the best defense that they've faced.
I'm glad you brought up Kotelnicki because to me, that's where it's really interesting too. You know, Aaron Henry, the defensive coordinator for Illinois, talked a lot after that Kansas game about the fact that he had watched the film from that Kansas game last year 100 times. That's what he told us. And he didn't feel great for good reason about what Kansas did to them last year, 539 yards of offense. And obviously Illinois got its revenge. But to me, the story was not so much about Kansas. I mean, again, I understand it was the same uniforms, but the offensive coordinator in that Kansas game last year was Andy Kotelnicki. So I think the real measuring stick now for Aaron Henry and for Illinois and for how much better are you truly on defense was not that Kansas game. The measuring stick is how do you do against Andy Kotelnicki? Are you able to adjust to all of the different things that he brings from a schematic point of view? So that's where I'm most interested. I thought the Illinois coordinators were incredible last week against Nebraska. I thought Barry Lunney was incredible, and I thought Aaron Henry was incredible. But this will be the biggest test for Aaron Henry. Not the Kansas game, nothing against Kansas. It's Andy Kotelnicki's offense and Penn State.
Dave, I'm with you. And I think to your point about what Aaron Henry said, I don't know that there's a bigger compliment that you can give another coach than when he talked about how much Andy Kotelnicki has impacted him. Obviously, when he was at OC at Kansas last season and they played each other. And you said it, like Aaron Henry watched that game over 100 times in the offseason. And he said it made him literally change how he views defensive play because of how Andy Kotelnicki does things on offense. So he will be dialed in, and I agree. I think this is going to be a huge measuring stick for exactly where Illinois is. Even though we've seen them go out and win some big games, this is going to be a different environment.
Well, they are one of the biggest surprises in the conference. Maybe the biggest surprise, though, is Indiana.